today we're going to be discussing a What We Want series on the topic of Phasmophobia. Consider this video a love letter to the developers because we have been playing this game since its early release, and in the hopes that it will continue to last for a longer time, we have decided to put together a list of some things we would love to see included into Phasmophobia. Interactivity was one of the USPs of Phasmophobia. It seems like interactivity, however, has hit a ceiling, and it would be fantastic if we could get new ways that you could interact with the ghost.
But the ceiling that it's hit is more one of implementation. I feel like the voice implementation doesn't really work that well. And it would be cool if it was, instead of being this ancillary thing, if it was more key to the game, where you can get the ghost to do certain things more consistently.
What is my name?
What's my name?
How old is my niece?
What?
You want to be
It's a psychic ghost, you see.
Yeah, I can get it. Donna.
Donna.
Holla at you, Donna.
Because right now the tracking phase of the game can feel a little bit boring, especially on the larger maps, because it just feels like you're entering this place and there is this enemy, this ghost somewhere in the place, but until you find it, it feels like a chunk of the game is kind of missing. And I think the actual tracking doesn't do enough to keep you engaged at that start. And making you interact with the ghost earlier on, I think, would completely change the dynamic of the game and make it way more fun. They've tried to do that already with cursed items, but I feel like maybe you should be able to have more than one cursed item on large maps, find them more easily, and just add even more mechanics, like actual taunting that isn't just voice implemented. Maybe you can have certain items that taunted, that kind of thing. All right, you guys ready?
No.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, Rahaf, don't forget to get the back end, I'll get the front end.
Let's do it.
That was so tragic.
It can be a really fun experience where you're like going through the new asylum, going through all the rooms. It's really tense, and then eventually you come into contact with the ghost.
Yeah, she's in the hall. Oh. EMF level 5. EMF 5.
You know what? I think that she's... Oh, dots, guys, dots.
But for, let's say, a minority to a majority, around 40 to 50% of games, in my experience, it's always been using a thermometer and parading around trying to find the room. One great addition would be some new tools, so you have different ways to try to track the ghost. So some sort of radar gun of sorts where you can kind of fire a radar through walls and get a glimpse back, like a receiving bit of information, like an outline of a ghost, perhaps. Now, obviously, balancing is a whole separate issue, but some new mechanical ways to track. It's a fine balancing act, though, because you don't want it to be too broken, etc. But please, guys, maybe some better ways to track the ghost. It would make the game much more enjoyable if it was slightly more varied.
There's a lot of ghosts that have been added to the game which kind of have a different variable mathematical effect on your sanity. And of course, you aren't always monitoring your sanity. On a nightmare difficulty, you have to use the Ouija board to figure out your sanity. It would be nice if they added like a timed item with batteries, like some kind of watch where you can check your sanity every once in a while, but you can only do it, like, let's say 3 times or so because the batteries ran out and you can't find any more. And you can use that kind of by proximity to the ghost to check your sanity to see whether you were next to the ghost and what effect it would have had, which is another way to kind of determine what the ghost is.
One thing that could be added is further tools that allow you to have more interaction with the ghost by trapping it. Again, it always harkens in the back of my mind that balancing is always a critical point with these games, but if you could implement some sort of ghostly bear trap of sorts, which would stop the ghost for a period of time when it's chasing you, of course, maybe the team only has one of these items at a time, but it allows you to then try to get some of the challenges done by taking photographs. You can have more tactical discussions with your team. Like, if we place this only trap we've got here, we can try to run this way.
I'm aware that we already have smudge sticks for when you're being chased, and salt also has an effect on some of the ghosts. But I feel like that's like a trap that works like a crucifix but runs out after one use would be pretty cool, especially if it would be able to keep the ghost in one place, not pulsing for, let's say, 2 seconds or something like that, so you can even grab a picture. Someone might say that nullifies the point of the summoning circle, but I don't think it does. The summoning circle is a rare thing that might pop up. Another thing that would be cool, just this is less of an exciting addition, but I think something that would add a lot of depth to the game would be if you add more locations for cursed items to actually spawn in the large maps. I know that people who play the game 24/7 and that's all they do. Of course, they know all the locations and they know where to go check. For new players, it could be. I feel like new players and even most casual players, they just end up not using the cursed items because who the hell is going to walk through Asylum and looking through every room to find the damn cursed item every time? Most people won't. So I feel like a way to do this without ruining the concept would be just to add for large apps maybe 2 or max 3 cursed items, put them in locations which are a bit more thematic so people can more obviously find them. I know some people might hate this, but we think that would be pretty damned awesome if you could actually take a cursed item with you at the beginning of the game at the cost of 10% sanity or something like that. So there is a trade-off. You already start with a very low sanity, but you can take a cursed item with you.
What if we get some procedural generation? We've kind of wanted to attack this topic of horror in a whole thing, so maybe we could start here. Unfortunately, you do start to become, as you do with many horror games, really, you can become more aware of what to expect, and the fear factor kind of goes away.
I know we currently have some minor procedural generation with where the breaker is and the hiding spots and that kind of thing, but we're talking about actual map-based procedural generation to a low to medium degree of visibility. And the whole point of it would be to add some environmental storytelling, because whilst I think the actual maps, their designs are very well done, very atmospheric, very tasteful, there's this empty feeling because you never feel any connection to the place, and you can't place the ghost in it either because of the randomness. And it would be cool if you could add just a pool of backstories, ghost backstories, that have visual elements. Maybe you find some dudes hanged. Maybe you can find a grave of like a little girl that's buried in the garden or something like that. And it would add just a fun little element to each game where you kind of piece together why the ghost is there and what happened.
Perhaps there could be some stationary activity we see, where the ghost is sitting on a chair, where the ghost is behind a window, where the ghost... It does open doors from time to time. I'll give the developers that. They have thought about trying to create some ideas, but that's usually when it's moving. Say if the kitchen would just explode randomly and everything would fly around, and it wouldn't necessarily mean it's a poltergeist. Again, it's like this atmospheric element where it's trying to create kind of like movie-like scenes and keep you in the multiplayer experience. But if they could implement some of these kinds of things, where the ghost is suddenly showing its face behind a wall and you just see like its hand come around, or like these kind of things, we all kind of want to see that because it's so exciting.
Switch off the lights.
Oh, it just
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's throwing shit around. Do you see that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's specifically for the. Oh shit! What the fuck is it? Go across, you see.
Breaker is still on. Just checking. Holy shit. Okay, now it's hunting. Oh, come on, is Josh dead? Is he dead? I agree. The game is sometimes a slave to its pristine mechanical aspects of like you have to kind of piece together the puzzle of what this ghost is, and that comes first. But it does come at the expense of a lot of atmosphere, I'd say. And I think there is a way to make it, because ghost events already, if ghost events occur, it doesn't mean that the ghost is necessarily there. So I feel like adding more ghost events that are very obviously ghost events would add a lot. As you said, maybe you can see a ghost in the reflection in the mirror somewhere or something like that. And if it's done in such a way, maybe there's like a certain audio cue which tells you, okay, this is just an event. This doesn't mean that the ghost is here. Keep looking.
important though. Dude, this thing's loud.
I feel like that would be great. So just give an obvious audio cue and add more creepy elements. I feel like that would work without breaking the game, and I feel like it's very important because there's other games that came out like Obsidio, which do this whole thing much better because they're not a slave to their mechanics. A lot of the time, someone is going to die, and I feel like it kind of ruins the whole mood when you're playing the game and you know somebody's kind of waiting for you to finish, right? I think it would be cool if you gave dead players something to do. And I think that thing would be that they have their own set of objectives, which now specifically involve figuring out what the backstory of the ghost is. This would only be something that dead players do, but pretty much for any of the evidence pieces that your friends haven't found yet, you could have to complete a series of procedurally generated random activities. Like you go on a little hunt, like an investigation. You find this item, this diary of the ghost, something like that, and then at the end you find out, okay, so this ghost reacts to UV light because blah blah blah, and then you can somehow find a way to let your friends know that, so you kind of are still contributing as a ghost. I think that would be pretty cool.
I've always felt, though, that it doesn't have any form of randomization or progression to the four players. It's just you're static. You're four guys. You have no unique attributes whatsoever. That's not to say that you should start choosing a class, because we carefully considered this, putting ourselves in the shoes of the developers. Nobody wants a class-based system in this game, at least as far as we can assess it, because it wouldn't create anything extra to it. However, perhaps what we could introduce is some variety to the characters, to the extent that maybe some characters run faster, to the extent that some characters have better sanity reduction rate. It's purely randomized. Why, you might ask, but I guess it's to kind of create some better moments that occur during the gameplay cycle that you play. Perhaps in one scenario, the guy who has the slightly higher sanity tolerance is able to outrun the ghost because it's not attacking him as fast or as such. Or one character is finally able to save a teammate by luring him away because they have slightly better speed. I feel like there could be some better moments that could occur with a bit of variety to the four characters. We're not getting any Borderlands skill trees. It would be really interesting if the characters had some distinguishing attributes.
So we're not going to turn this into something where everybody goes for builds, like an Evil Dead or Dead by Daylight or something like that. They're not going to build their characters. It's going to be completely randomized. So basically, at the beginning of the game, you find out, okay, my character is faster, mine is sneakier, mine can carry something, let's say one more item or something like that. And then that adds one completely dynamic layer to Phasmophobia, where at the beginning of the game, everybody in the party can talk to each other and be like, okay, so if I'm good at this, maybe I should do this. You guys help me, blah, blah. And it just adds another layer of something tactical to the game. One of the few things that I genuinely think just isn't that fun about Phasmophobia is the way challenges work. For your average completionist, having just some random things to do, gallivanting around the house, is fine. I feel like challenges could be much more fun, much more interesting, and something that players might actually want to set out to do, even for non-completionists. Because I think even the money that you get is just not enough for a lot of people who just want to have fun with the game. And it would be cool if these challenges were just more engaging and also more funny. We gotta do.
People who are alive.
We gotta get our sanity below 25. Okay. Witness ghost events and cleanse using smudge sticks. Pretty easy. What if one of the challenges was to somehow get the ghost to interact with a toaster or something like that? It would be much more funny, or to kind of trap or make it come to the garage or something like that. Make more of the challenges actually be intrinsically tied to interacting with the ghost.
Challenges that we have right now are just take a picture of the ghost, or witness a ghost event, or use X item, and it's kind of like, well, we do that anyway. And let's say you lose two of your teammates, God forbid, but if you do, you don't want to go back in there to try to do a challenge. So, like, it's kind of fun to do it at the start.
Also, I think the most fun accident when it comes to the way challenges are currently is when they synergize. But it's kind of cool when you have a selection of challenges which are like, get the ghost to hunt, escape a hunt, use a crucifix, use smudge sticks, or something like that. Because you can kind of do all of those in one run. And it's kind of fun to have that happen, but given that it's randomized, that happens rarely.
Here's another idea. How about a parrot for a new item that you could bring into the ghost house? So let me explain why this is not a bad idea. So a parrot, you bring it into a cage. It's in a stationary position. You can place it down in a hallway or in a room, and it will tweet. It will act like a normal parrot. And then it will give you some subtle clues if the ghost approaches nearby or if it is in the ghost room. And because it's a parrot, of course, perhaps it could even relay some of the ghost information. Right, gonna kill you, right? You know, it could be interesting. It would create another item. And also, of course, when it dies, it could create a really cool horror scene where, like, it's fluttering in the cage, it's creating a lot of noise. It could give you, like, a good jump scare.
Just for clarification, this would be like a new evidence, pretty much. Like the spirit box, in a way. Like dots, etc. You just place it in a room, and if it dies, that means that ghost, that gives you information about the ghost. Our final point is going to be about a new ghost type that we're quite excited to get into. Because everybody has wanted this ghost to be in the game for a while, but for all intents and purposes, we've decided that it's just not possible. But we think that we found a way to do it. Ever since the beginning, people have talked. There was this like urban myth about a ghost that can possess players and kind of pretend like it is a player to kind of confuse the others. That was an urban myth. It wasn't a hoax. It wasn't actually in the game, but people ever since have been trying to figure out a way to put this damn ghost into the game. The reason it wouldn't work is obviously because an AI doesn't act like a human and communication prevents it from working. But we found a way to do it would be to actually introduce a new randomized, low chance variable to games. It would be completely random. Maybe there's like a 5 to 10% chance of it happening. If you don't want it, you can turn it off. Every once in a while, one person gets notified that they are the imposter ghost. Now they know that the ghost in the game is this thing that kind of possesses players. The player has to kind of either kill the other ones or confuse them, keep them from getting the evidence. So a full win would be that player kills everybody else. A shorter win would be just that they prevent them from getting the evidence. And then that player, intermittently, he gets possessed by the ghost, right? So there are periods of time where he's just like everybody else and he has to pretend to be looking for the evidence. And then eventually he gets possessed and he can do a bunch of things. He can kill players. He can create ghost events and interactions to kind of throw people off course and just kind of fuck with everyone. And so obviously that player has to not tell everybody else. I think that the Phas community is capable of doing that, capable of playing this properly. But yeah, that's how you introduce this imposter ghost, by making the player the imposter. And if you hate this idea, you can just switch it off in game.
I think it could mechanically work as well if you could have, say, the ability to change freely at will into the imposter. You then have the ability to return to the player model at will. The ability to have a dead player model at will as well, so therefore you can confuse people. If someone did die, right, you could then try to, like, mimic their body or something. Maybe you could even move dead player bodies, I don't know. I like your idea where you said about you can screw up evidence, so it would be kind of... The whole game would turn on its heads for that one player in that moment. It would be, all right, they've placed the book down, I'm throwing that in the sink. They've placed the motion sensors, I'm putting them all on top of a chair. It would just be a lot of fun, and I think the way this could be implemented well, we discussed it being optional and able to be turned off with a low chance, but it also could be a game mode. There's lots of ways this could be implemented.
It went to attack me.
Really?
Oh shit. Yeah, I had Red Rosie's playing in my ears.
I almost imagine it like a Gmod thing where it would be really, really kind of in detail. You could do many things. It's kind of like interactivity to the maximum. Not only would it kind of keep the game on its heels, because you just kind of wouldn't know what to expect, whether it would be a standard Phas experience or one of your friends is actually going to just screw you all over, and it would be exactly that.
Those are just a few of the things that we think would greatly add to the experience of playing Phasmophobia. This is all in good sport, though. The reason we criticize the game is because we love it. We want to see it go further. And yeah, just to prove that, we're going to leave you with one of the many things we love about this game. This is one where we get tricked by the damned mimic. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Oh, look, orbs, dude. Orbs. Do you see it? Did you see it? Orbs.
Yeah.
Or...
No, we have free evidence.
No, it's
Free
a
piece of
haunted.
evidence.
What? Did we have another piece of evidence? What else did we have?
We've got freezing temps, fingerprints, ghost orbs.
We've had freezing temps this whole time. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, stop.
A haunted.
Wait, what?
Yo, can you believe it? We got bamboozled.
We got bamboozled by
Yeah.
a fucking mimic. mimic.
Yeah, because the mimic, you know how it works. There's always gonna be ghost
Yeah,
orbs,
yeah.
but that wasn't.
Huh.
Yeah, he got bamboozled.